In the late 11th century, Western Europe was undergoing profound political and religious transformations. The Catholic Church held immense power over both rulers and ordinary people, and Pope Urban II sought to consolidate this authority by directing armies of nobles and peasants toward a unified goal: the liberation of the Holy Lands from Muslim control. In 1095, at the Council of Clermont, Pope Urban II called upon nobles and peasants alike to participate in a military campaign to reclaim Jerusalem, promising spiritual rewards, the remission of sins, and the approval of God to those who joined. This call resonated deeply across Europe. Many peasants, untrained in warfare but driven by religious fervor and the allure of adventure, rallied to what became known as the People's Crusade under Peter the Hermit, departing in the summer of 1096. Their journey, however, was fraught with hardship as they encountered resistance from Byzantine forces in some regions and Muslim forces in others, resulting in the death or capture of the majority of participants. These tragic early failures did not diminish the resolve of the organized Crusader forces that would soon follow. Later that summer, the First Crusade officially began under the leadership of prominent European nobles, including Godfrey of Bouillon, Raymond IV of Toulouse, Bohemond of Taranto, and Odo of Burgundy. Bringing well-organized armies and relatively advanced weaponry, these leaders led their forces across Byzantine territories, where Emperor Alexios I Komnenos received them and offered logistical and military assistance, though tensions remained, given Byzantine fears of Crusader expansion. The armies faced the daunting challenge of traversing Anatolia, confronting rugged terrain, extreme heat, and supply shortages, all while anticipating clashes with Seljuk forces who controlled much of the region. Their first major encounter occurred at the city of Nicaea. The Crusaders, reinforced by Byzantine support, laid siege to the city for roughly 20 days. They built siege engines, dug trenches, and established blockades to cut off supplies, while Seljuk defenders launched sorties to disrupt their operations. Ultimately, Nicaea surrendered, but disputes erupted over spoils and control between the Crusaders and Byzantines, highlighting the difficulty of maintaining cohesion among a coalition of armies from different political and cultural backgrounds. After Nicaea, the Crusaders moved across the Anatolian plateau, facing continuous harassment from Seljuk forces. Skirmishes were frequent, and logistical challenges, including scarcity of food and water, harsh terrain, and the threat of ambushes, tested the endurance of both knights and foot soldiers. Many perished during these crossings, but the armies pressed on, driven by religious zeal and the promise of rewards at the journey's end. In 1098, the Crusaders reached Antioch, initiating a siege that would last for months. The city's fortifications were formidable, with thick walls, towers, and a well-supplied garrison led by Kerboga of Mosul, who coordinated reinforcements from surrounding regions. The Crusaders employed mining techniques to tunnel under walls, built siege towers, and used catapults to bombard the city. Starvation and disease plagued both besiegers and defenders, heightening the desperation on both sides. When Kerboga finally arrived with a relief army, the Crusaders found themselves trapped and facing annihilation. However, internal divisions among Kerboga's allies and the arrival of reinforcements from Europe allowed the Crusaders to launch a desperate sally that broke the siege. Following their victory, the Crusaders conducted a massacre against the city's Muslim population, claiming thousands of lives, while also seizing weapons, supplies, and strategic positions. Antioch's capture marked a turning point, demonstrating both the Crusaders' determination and the brutal realities of medieval siege warfare. From Antioch, the Crusaders continued south, moving into the Levant. They encountered numerous fortified towns, small Muslim garrisons, and natural obstacles, but they gradually advanced toward Jerusalem. In 1099, they reached the Holy City, which they besieged for weeks. They constructed siege towers, catapults, and other war engines while enduring heat, thirst, and outbreaks of disease. When they finally breached Jerusalem's walls on July 15, 1099, the Crusaders unleashed a violent assault, massacring Muslim and Jewish inhabitants in a city that had been densely populated for centuries. Godfrey of Bouillon was installed as the first ruler of the newly established Latin Kingdom of Jerusalem, marking a new chapter in the Crusaders' presence in the region. The Crusaders did not stop at Jerusalem. They established a network of Latin states, including the Principality of Antioch, the County of Edessa, and the County of Tripoli, each governed under European feudal principles and linked to the Catholic Church. These states served both as religious outposts and as bases for further military operations. Yet these territories faced ongoing challenges. Muslim resistance remained resolute, with leaders such as Nur al-Din Zangi gradually consolidating forces to counter the Crusaders. Internal disputes among Crusader leaders over authority, resources, and spoils further weakened their control. Economic difficulties, logistical constraints, and the need to defend long, exposed frontiers meant that the Crusader states often struggled to maintain dominance, relying heavily on reinforcements from Europe. Despite these obstacles, the First Crusade left an indelible mark. It demonstrated how religious fervor could mobilize vast armies across great distances, the critical role of military organization and leadership in achieving success, and the complexities of coordinating multinational forces in foreign lands. Battles at Antioch, Jerusalem, and along the Anatolian plains illustrated both the tactical ingenuity of the Crusaders and the formidable challenges posed by determined defenders, harsh environments, and logistical limits. The campaign established patterns for future crusades, including siege strategies, alliances with local powers, methods for controlling conquered populations, and the integration of religious and political objectives. These experiences shaped the interactions between the Christian and Muslim worlds for centuries, leaving a legacy of both military accomplishment and profound human suffering. The First Crusade was thus a mixture of religious zeal, political ambition, military strategy, and economic pressure. It highlighted the extremes of human courage and brutality, from the starvation and exhaustion endured on the march to the bloody massacres following city captures. It revealed how faith could drive men to extraordinary feats, while also exposing the harsh realities of medieval warfare, where triumph and tragedy were inseparably intertwined. The campaign's legacy endured far beyond its immediate military results, influencing subsequent crusades, the political structure of the Latin states, and the broader history of Christian-Muslim relations in the Eastern Mediterranean.